Hello again, and welcome back to the Beardy Boys. We missed y'all last week because of a kerfuffle on my end. Sorry about that. But we are back once again, and a little bit of a little stranger scenario here. As you can see, Chad and I are not separated on the screen, and it's because Chad actually came over and was actually able to record with me live on this one.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not in my room. We're here where we normally do our recording session, which is why you see the big, like, unlit Renegade sign back there, which eventually will be lit, but not today. And yeah, so it's just how it goes. So, yeah, and I hope y'all are ready for some beard on beard on beard action.
Three-way beard
Oh, yeah.
love making session.
Oh, yeah.
The juices are already flowing, you could say.
Oh, yeah.
We've had some
Yep.
juice-filled conversation before we started rolling.
Oh, the
Yeah.
juiciest, some would say.
Mm,
So,
moist.
so yeah, we've been at it. We've been at it like a
Yeah.
crack addict. Ain't been minding much.
Hey.
Anything. We just been doing our thing. So either way, I figure we might as well just hop into some good old topics here. Chad, hit us up with yours.
The House Oversight Committee on
Oh, boy.
Thursday is finally going to hold a hearing on UAPs where they're pulling no punches. Everybody's going to be under oath, having to spill the beans, classified or not classified.
Damn.
So we should know tomorrow, unless people want to perjure themselves, as far as I understand it.
Or use their right to silence.
Yeah.
I guess, which
We should know whether or not there is a government organization tasked with recovering crashed UAPs, aka UFOs, and whether or not there were otherworldly pilots to these things. That's the main answers that people were trying to get. And I respect this shit for one reason, that I didn't even think about this implication from all this shit. You always think like it's a national security risk. The public has a right to know. What's with the disinformation campaigns and stuff? Like, we want to know the truth from the government. As hard as that is, it should be what we get from them. And I think that it's important for everybody in our country and on our planet to be aware of the fact, if it is the fact, that there are aircraft that nobody knows what the fuck it is and it's floating around. I think that everybody should have a right to know that.
yeah.
I agree.
Just
I
like
agree.
they would be like, hey, we're going to put out an alert because there is this pilot in the sky that nobody has contact with and we don't know what they're doing. We would know that.
Yeah.
And that's just like a small airplane. So if there are these unbelievably capable crafts out there or whatever it is, then people have a right to know that.
I agree.
But I never thought about the implication of the people who have come forward with this information being gaslit and told that they're crazy, not wanting to report on it, like highly trained, very intelligent, honest, good people being treated like they're crazy can cause serious effects on their mental health and their quality of life thereafter, especially if you've been through something that is inexplicable and then everyone tells you you're crazy. So this senator from Tennessee went on a warpath and started this whole thing that's happening right now because of that fact, that he felt like it was unfair to take some of the most brilliant, capable, hardworking, honest people in the military and in the civil service of whatever it is they're doing for the government and treating them like they're crazy.
Yeah.
And letting them go through that by themselves. He was of the mind that it's just not fair to do that to people.
It's not at all, I don't think.
So
Agree.
I never thought about that. But I mean, if you're like a hardworking, well-respected person, and then you go through this traumatic event, and then everyone treats you like you made it up, I mean, that has to be awful.
Yeah, well, when people witness something extraordinary, their brain, the logical side of their brain really like splits in two. There's like, this is real, this is not real. And whenever they see something, especially someone who's grounded in reality and hasn't really had any history of like mental health issues or anything like
Right.
that, all of a sudden comes forward and says, "Dude, on that hill right there, I swear to you, I saw something come down, drop something off, something walked around in the weeds a little bit, looked down, saw me, went back up into the thing that came down and flew off." And it was within like 30 seconds. I'm not joking. And we can go up there and we can look, and they're just like, you expect me to believe this and this and that and blah blah blah. And you see, if there was like, if this person had exhibited like mental health like problems or anything like that, then there wouldn't be as much water to what they're saying or anything like that. But if it's someone who's like a career civil servant, a career military person who has just been clock in, clock out, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing extraordinary, but then one extraordinary thing happens to them, and it's just like they're not listened to because like, oh, that's crazy, you're insane.
Or like the pilot from the Nimitz.
Yeah, I remember that.
He talks about it. There's video footage leaked of it happening and him on the thing. Like, they even treated him that way.
Of course.
And there's like all of this evidence of it. This happened in 2004. We didn't know about it until 2017.
Yes. I remember when that released in 2017 and the disinformation campaign out there of just like all of these outlets dismissing it. Some government entities dismissing it. And then it's just like, wait a minute. Why are these like people going out of their way? Like this is like, it was like Salon magazine going out of their way to try and discredit it. I was like, this is Salon. They discuss things like what nail polish to get to make your boyfriend like you.
Yeah.
Why the hell are they writing an anti like UFO or like, why are they doing that to discredit this? Like it. I hate to say it, but there's just an apparatus that is at play here that discredits, disenfranchises, and just like completely sweeps stuff under the rug and tries to just pump out pop culture bullshit to make people forget about shit. That's just like after Epstein. It's like, for instance, I think they realized how they could do this. You remember what was the number one news story like during the 90s?
Bill Clinton getting his dick sucked.
Yes. Then all of a sudden,
hell yeah.
Then all of a sudden,
Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, they realized, oh wait, if we put stuff on here that people find interesting enough, then stuff will fly under the radar for enough people to where it won't cause a big enough like outcry, and then in the long run, in the short term, in the long run, it'll be forgotten about. That happens so much, and that's just like all these news stories and news outlets talking about Epstein. When that happened, all of a sudden it was just like they went from talking about Epstein to immediately talking about like, it's like they looked at Epstein as like the story of the day. Whereas
2018,
whereas it should have been like the story of the year, what happened to him.
Well, no, they made it the story about him.
Yeah.
And pretended like it was an isolated incident.
Yeah.
That he was the only story. His connections meant nothing.
Yeah.
He was doing it on his own. Maybe there was another girl. They made him look like a prolific serial pedophile rather than a serial prolific provider for pedophiles.
Yes.
And, they didn't dig too deep into who he was associated with. They just tried to nail his, rigor mortis penis to the wall. And it's like, this guy's dead.
Yeah.
It's like people still talk all this shit about Hitler. Hitler's dead.
Yeah.
It's his legacy that lives on that we've got to fucking destroy. The impact he's made on other people that you have to destroy. Who gives a fuck about Epstein? He's fucking dead. But what about these other motherfuckers he was associated with that are still out here? Yeah,
and instead of looking into that, dude, a CNN reporter, like CNN, this is, I think, anything out there, regardless of political affiliation, everyone, universally, for the most part, can agree on one thing. Pedophiles are bad. I think that's
Yes.
something that universally both sides of the aisle can universally agree on. And it actually speaks on to like what we talked about in the last week's podcast, which unfortunately, due to me, the Sound of Freedom. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that whole deal. That's another thing too. And when you see the amount, like, I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy around like not like Hollywood is not wanting people to see this film. Um, when you look at the amount of instances of like theaters going out of their way to try and stop the film from being shown, or the amount of people, like for instance, there was one, they had the lights on in the theater, in like about 10 minutes in on the movie, they turned the lights on, and then they did everything they could to interrupt the film. Like someone came in and was like trying to be like, "We're sorry, everybody, but we're gonna have to ask you to leave the theater because of a lighting issue or anything like that, because we don't want to have you sit here and watch, have be forced to watch this in this state. We're so sorry." And then they were just like, "But we want to sit here and watch this. Like, we don't care." And then they were just like, "Well, we don't recommend it, but if you want to stay, you can." But they kept the lights on in there for like 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Like, I worked in movie theaters. Do you know how simple the lighting system in most theaters is? It's literally a knob that
Yeah.
Or
that
the
is
slide thing.
or is up in the projection room, or at the forefront of the theater where like the little step up is to go up behind the seats. It's like right there. You just turn it down or
Yep.
slide it up and down. That's it. That's all there is to it. But
Controls the whole thing.
yeah, and they kept it on for 30 minutes, and then eventually you see the lights go back down because I think they realized, yeah, these people aren't leaving.
Yeah,
And-
that's a
Exactly.
weird thing to have a problem with.
And then, of course, not only that, but air
It's
conditioning.
pretty weird.
Also,
yeah.
not only
I
that,
heard
but
about that.
they turn off air conditioning in the theaters that are playing The Sound of Freedom, but every other one is working. Like, literally, this guy walked in to this one theater. I think they were playing, I forget the name of the damn movie. They were walking in there, and it's just like, yeah, the AC works perfectly in here. Walks in The Sound of Freedom. It's like, there's no AC on in here whatsoever. And I'm not saying that Hollywood is calling up these theaters and just being like, you need to pull that from your theater right now. It's like, but we can't. We're under contract to show. It's just like, I don't want people seeing it. And it's like, And I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy, but once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern, and there's at least a dozen videos online of theaters pulling this shit that you don't
Yep.
see on the regular. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's very strange.
Politics has bled into so many radical behaviors by people. It just doesn't surprise me. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get what's up with people. Like back in the day when I was doing my thing, if somebody threw a brick through the window, there was no real agenda attached to it. They were just being an asshole. Now people are doing it. I'm throwing this brick in the name of this. Like, whatever
Yeah.
happened to just breaking shit for no reason?
Well, they're doing it for fanatical reasons.
I
and
mean, we did it
Yep.
for stupidity, for just wanting to have fun, like abandoned houses and abandoned buildings and shit.
abandoned
run
buildings.
down.
Like, it's just like you'd see this one window at the top on like the 3rd or 4th
Yeah,
floor,
and it looked like the crypt keeper's house, fucking sideways and
yeah,
shit.
and you'd see it, and you'd you'd be on the fence, be like, "Dang, I can hit that from here,"
You know?
and just be like, $10 says you can't.
Now people are raising hell. And I love, one of my favorite things about that is the motherfuckers will sit here and be like, but these Republicans are doing this and I'm going to do this. And then they do exactly what they're bitching about.
Yeah.
And then the Republicans will be like, they're doing this. These snowflakes are mad about this. And then something will happen and they're mad about it.
Yeah,
It's like
Yep.
you guys are all fucking pussies, man.
I hate to say it, but
You all
I
are
hate to say
pussies.
it, but the literal like what's happening in this country, what's happened. I'm not, and also this goes back into my mind as a conspiracy. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the public school system deliberately like gaslights people into certain mindsets so that they'll be divisive like constantly because I'm not saying that the US government isn't like trying to coerce the public school systems to deliberately be divisive so that communities can't literally come together, band together, and actually accomplish stuff. I'm not saying that, but there's a lot of stuff that is left out of academia that a lot of people find out later on in college and like higher just by independent research sometimes. And you find this stuff out and you're just like, wait, why wasn't I told this? And then you come across people who didn't go into like secondary education and instead have been integrated into it, and now this is all they can think about. And it's just like, well, I'm owed this because of this happening, to this and that. And I'm not, and again, I'm not gonna like trivialize suffering that has happened in the past, anything like that. But you go back far enough, nobody's innocent in history.
Mm-hmm.
You go back far enough, nobody is innocent. Nobody. Genghis Khan killed over 30 million people, and people like praise Genghis Khan and just like, hey, the Mongols, am I right?
No, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only person's innocent
Hell
is my
no.
friend innocent.
Yeah, but yeah, Genghis Khan killed
Hell
over 30
no.
million people, and this isn't a time where it was like you drop a bomb on a city and kill 1 or 2 million people. No, this is with swords, with sticks, with bludgeons, with rocks, with bows and arrows, and trampled by horses. Dude, it is astronomical.
And brutally taking advantage of people,
Oh,
you could
yes,
say.
yes.
In a
Oh,
provocative way.
to the point where Genghis Khan right now did so much pillaging in his day that there are currently more than 40 million people who are alive today that are direct descendants of Genghis Khan. Think about that.
And a lot of that, most of that was not by choice.
No.
So,
No. Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. Humanity in and of itself has had a lot of horrible, horrible things go down.
Suffering.
From every race, religion, and creed, pretty much. There is blood on everybody's hands.
It doesn't matter.
But it's like we're here now, and I think you brought up a good point about everybody needed to come together. And it's like this idea of it being okay for people to be different and have different ideologies has flown out the window. Like, not everybody has to agree with you, man.
No.
And you can disagree and then have that out without being disrespectful to each other.
Yeah, you can hash stuff out through logical conversations, and just
we argue all the time about shit.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And we're
That's
best
how
friends.
it used to be that way. It used to be that way because I remember watching debates when I was a younger kid. Because I was always a curious kid, and when it comes to like either like politics or this or that, religion, ABC, XYZ, 1 to 3, 7, 8, 9. And I remember back when I was a kid and seeing the debates before Obama became president. And I remember it was a radical person that I think it was on McCain's side, or I forgot who it was.
Mm.
And
it was
she
John
said,
McCain.
Yep, and a woman stood up and said, "Oh, he's a Muslim, he's a foreigner, and all this kind of stuff." And McCain's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! He's an American man. He's an amazing husband. He's an amazing father. He's an amazing, citizen of this country. He was born here. He was phenomenal. Only thing I have against him is his policies and his way of thinking of how to run this country. He's not what you say he is.
Yeah.
He's an amazing man. We just have differences, politics and policy wise.
Yes.
Now you don't even see that at all, like at all.
Yeah,
now people on the left is they're shitting on people on the right. People on the right are shitting people on the left. There's nobody that could be like, hey, I disagree with his or her stance, but that person is still a phenomenal person. Now is, let's impeach this person. Let's impeach that person. Let's go against this person. This person's a radical. This person's extreme. This person's a terrorist. This person is this. Now it's just there's no common ground.
No.
And then it's even getting to the point where families and even family friends are just like no longer associating with each other because of just
Divided
their ideology
by political
of
lines.
Yeah.
And that's part of the plan. I agree with Nate on that.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer is the thing. And unfortunately, most people are fucking stupid.
Yeah, and it's working because the American education system, instead of teaching people how to think critically, instead they're teaching people like
emotions.
Yeah, they're teaching people. Well, I'm not against being in touch with your emotions either.
It's an important thing. Emotional intelligence is very important.
But being balanced, finding balance with critical thinking and taking yourself out of the equation and literally looking at everything from a fixed viewpoint is one of the most integral things that is needed in order to progress as a society and as a species. Now, emotional intelligence is great to be comfortable with oneself, to be comfortable with your people around you,
To not fly off the handle when you don't agree with something.
Exactly. But you have to have balance. You have to have that balance in your life. That if you're missing, it's just going to wind up just causing chaos for everybody. And whilst I think chaos in certain regards is a good thing because it can cause things to like go forward, because competition can sometimes drive progress, but too much of it for too long will drive a society up the wall and go crazy. And basically, you get psychological studies where you look at so-called perfect societies like Japan. You got people who are literally working themselves to death, staying in the office,
get hammered every day.
Yes, and just guzzling down energy drinks, instant ramen noodles that they cook on little stoves underneath their desks because they can't afford to leave their desk long enough. And you look at, and then you look at also so-called perfect societies like they have when they talk about China. When you have to hang up canopy nets to keep people from killing themselves from jumping out factory windows, you got a problem, dude. And and the truth is, like, there's no such thing as a perfect society. There's always going to be people like the so-called dregs who are going to be at the bottom in society. But at the same time, when you look at a society's ladder and you look at like how many people are able to take care of themselves, how many people are able to have a roof over their head, and I would say for the most part this country's done a fairly good job. But I will say this: we have done a shit job handling the homeless situation.
Oh,
especially on the West Coast. The West Coast, it's a nightmare. East Coast has done a lot better because
I don't know, man. Philadelphia,
and New York, Detroit. New Jersey.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of like the numbers of like homeless shelters that are here in the East Coast are far greater than they're in the West Coast.
Probably southern east, but
we do a lot better down here. Trust me, it's one of those things. It has been our entire life. You may see 4 or 5 homeless people.
Yeah.
But most of the time, they have somewhere to go if they need to.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because, there are so many churches and so many church outreach groups that a lot of the people who don't go to a shelter or they don't want to deal with that situation is because they don't want to get off of drugs and they don't want to not be able to be fucked
up.
The
Salvation Army Center that they have in Bristol, they can house up to I think 50 people. They have like 50 small apartment things in there, and the homeless that came through here for a long time would often line up there to go there. And I actually came across like 2 who didn't make it in. They were in the post office. One of them was sleeping in the back side of the post office where the safety deposit, where the like PO boxes were, like on the Tennessee one. I was just like, whoa. I looked back there and his cart is in there and he's like asleep underneath the cart, like on the bottom.
They've started sending people this way.
Yeah.
Like there are certain communities where they take the homeless people and give them money to send them to this area.
Wow.
It's happened a few times. And, it really sucks when you see church groups and people who are compelled to be compassionate to humanity being overwhelmed with everything that they can do and knowing that the federal government making ungodly sums of money can't be asked to solve this problem. It wasn't nearly as big of a problem back before all the social welfare situations got shut down, like the institutions and things like that. I'm sure, there's plenty of proof out there of how bad those were being run and how bad people were being treated. But, dude, if you don't have a place for those people to go, they're going to be on the streets and they're going to be doing whatever out here.
Yep.
And things have changed a lot since the 70s. And I'm sure there would be better checks and balances on those hospitals and places like that if they still existed. Something's going to happen because best believe most of the drugs is coming from outside the United States. And there are countries that are reaping huge benefits for keeping our people fucked up to death.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be compassion, man. It's important to take care of people. There is, I don't know the solution for this. It damn sure isn't what Donald Trump said, fucking buy property outside of cities and allocate all this land to house homeless people and pay for the best clinicians and things to go in there. It's like, dude, if it was that simple, don't you think we would have already fucking done that?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's like the hospital that I was gonna say
Go ahead.
the hospital that it was closest to me back when I used to live in the city of Newark. They have a special little package that they do, and they also have a special wing just for the homeless people here and there because they will admit themselves for the most smallest things, and they don't have a place to stay. There's nothing that the government is doing in New Jersey that is helping them. Penn Station, Newark Penn Station, is overwritten completely with the homeless. Like every single place you go to, there's a homeless person sleeping on the stairs, on the bench, on this area, by the tracks, by this, right in the middle of the tracks where the trains don't come through, whatever. They have places there, or the highways from the very entrance of Newark to like going into like Elizabeth. There's like 20 to like 50 homeless people in every underpass. Or like even if you're walking around by fast food restaurants, by the McDonald's, by White Castle, by Burger King, by this place, there's always homeless people there. And there's nothing that helps them. So there is a big hospital in the city of Newark, and then there's another big hospital in the city over, which is a small city called Belleville. Those two are like over. Like it's like there's always homeless people coming in, or they're sleeping in the waiting room, or they will say, "Oh, my stomach hurts," just so they can have a bed to lay in for like maybe 2 or 3 hours, and they'll just give them a little Pepto-Bismol, Tylenol, and then they'll be out.
Yeah.
And the CEOs of both those hospitals made a little thing called like I forgot what the name of it. It was like charity care, and they'll just come in and they'll let them. They'll take long on servicing them purposely, so at least they could have a warm place to stay in or a cool places during the summertime. So they'll see their names and they'll put like John Doe, and they'll see exactly who is the John Doe or the Jane Doe, and we'll call you in a minute, and they'll skip past them purposely, so they could stay in that warm or cold space for the depending on the weather or the season. And then once there's like nobody else in the waiting room, all right, let me take a look at you, just to see them and whatever. Okay, here's a Tylenol, and then they just be out for the night.
Yeah. I actually there's several solutions that I've tried to think of, but you touched on like what the solution might be. Me and Miles had a discussion about it, and here was what I came to the conclusion of. Number one, you do need a place to house these people.
Yep.
You need that is a paramount thing. And here's the thing about it: like a bunch of people are just like, well, what about California? You know, look at California, how they've allocated all this money to the homeless, and where is it? It's like it's tied up. It's tied up in at the federal level or at the federal and state level because everyone wants to get their finger on that little piece of the pie so that they can pull maybe like 100,000, 150,000, because I think it's over $2 trillion that's been given to California to help deal with the homeless problem, and only about $500 million of it's been used. Half a trillion. It's like $500 billion has been used, but it hasn't. But that's still not even like three-quarter. That's still not even like a quarter of it, of what they have at their disposal in terms of total funds, and it's just kept being tied up because all these little things just want to keep like extracting. Like, oh, here's 50,000, here's 100,000, here's $1 million. It's like. And when people pull that stuff and get away with it, and they're just thinking in their heads like,
that's politics.
Well, maybe I can get away with 2 million. Maybe I can get away with 5 million. Because that's the thing. That's how the human mind works. Like people who are naturally greedy like that.
That's the main problem.
Will just seek to just try and take.
That's
as much
why
as
we're
they
here in the
can.
first place.
Well, yeah.
It's the greed is the problem overall. If you want to cast just a huge net over everything, the main problem is greed. I mean, take people,
And he's-
the richest motherfuckers, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like they
Renault.
have no ceiling. They can make as much money as is possible.
Yeah.
But there's at some point where it's like, I mean, you know, people change the games and the rules in sports and everything. The rules get changed whenever the game just ain't happening no more.
Yep.
Yeah.
There should be a point where it's like, hey, if you are literally richer than fucking anybody than the country, we might need to tax you a little bit heavier.
Well, and here's the thing with it.
It's not even tax. I would say it's more wages, because people say the little bullshit lie. Oh, if you raise the wages, it's gonna create more inflation and all this kind of stuff. So all these companies saying, oh, we can never afford to raise the wages, but then that quarter they talk about how they hit record profits.
It's always records.
numbers. Like, oh, we just broke the records of all these profits. But if you would have raised people's pay by like $1 or $2, you know, every 2 or 3 years, that it's supposed to be that kind of way, because if you look at the cost of living and then the wages,
It used to be
the wages
that way.
only went up.
Well,
yeah, exactly. The wages now gone up like maybe like a couple percent. Well, everything went up 300, 400, 500%. But they're hitting record profits, but the wages are still in the bottom.
Well, here's what I'll say about inflation and everything like that. In terms of inflation, a rising tide raises all ships. And you see, I know that there are certain, I think there are certain, well, there are certain landlords out there, because, you know, Chad's going through a whole spat with, like, you know, a place to live and everything.
Yeah.
And it's tough out there. And here's what I'll say. Inflation is the reason why a lot of the bottom line on these places just went through the roof, because when you look at like inflation, like quarterly inflation rates have gone nowhere but up since 2020. They were starting to plane off a little bit at the end of like 2018, 2019, and into 2020, and then all of a sudden it went back up again. And a lot of it was from the pandemic. A lot of like the inflation rates went up because of the pandemic.
It's a global economy, so none of this
is.
can be blamed on a single country's politics.
I will say this: the U.S. government needs to stop spending more money than what they're pulling in.
Dude, the worst thing that ever happened was Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. Holy shit, dude. We literally got fucked. Because if you look at the fucking, as bad as Bill Clinton was, look at the debt when he was president.
I know it was down to almost nothing. And,
dude, now I would say, every president after that has destroyed.
I'd say it was like partially due to Jimmy Carter and Reaganomics, and then Bill Clinton. Like those three right there, back to back, helped get, because you see, Jimmy Carter went through the rough bits of it with like the gas prices going through the roof. We think gas prices are bad now. In terms of like the inflation rate back then on gas, it was nuts.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Reagan came in and basically cut down on a lot of like social programs that weren't having a lot of effect, and instead we're just wasting money.
And it's not them as a singular person; it's the administrations.
The administrations.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you look at the great like financial thinkers that worked under all these men.
Yeah,
and,
in it for themselves, every fucking one of them.
And then, of course, what's his name? It was the one Jewish dude who worked under Reagan and was like Reagan's financial advisor and helped him basically become, you know, not such as like a penny pincher, but just like such like a concentrate on the stuff that's working and like negate the stuff that isn't. And then Bill Clinton comes in there and he basically finishes up that work. And then the war on terror starts, and then, you know,
downhill,
on and on and on, more and more and more. The war economy, keep it going. You know, Black Mountain and just all of these different private, like it's what Eisenhower warned us about, and it took 50 years, but eventually we got there.
Well, the trickle-down economics didn't really work. The Reaganomics didn't work.
That was the one side of Reaganomics that I will say
the war on drugs didn't work.
No, but I will say this: under Reagan, the American life, like when you look at everything that was accomplished while his president, not to say it was all him, but under his presidency, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the lead to the end of the Soviet Union, which basically
They kind of did that themselves, though.
well, they did. Well, yeah, Chernobyl. A lot of people
They really fucked
a lot of people
themselves up.
forget like Chernobyl is the reason why the Soviet Union fell apart was because of the amount of money they had to do.
You can't fuck up that bad, dude. You can't. You just can't.
And
I
they
mean,
did.
that was a horrific fuck up. Not only just from an empathetic point of the human loss, but the loss of fucking money and just, I mean, they banked way too hard on one thing
Yes.
and weren't ready for it.
Well, and they didn't update. They
Right, they
refused
weren't
to
ready for
update
it.
because they were just stuck in their ways. And it's just like it's cheap. It was cheaper. It was cheaper for them to keep those old reactors going that were a danger instead of updating them.
Dude.
Yeah, and
I would still I see people going and like vloggers will be like, "Oh, we're going inside Charno." Why would you do that?
because
Why
because
would
people
you
are
fucking
stupid.
do that?
Because
man?
people
They
are
want
stupid.
clicks and likes and views.
Watch me stick my penis in this hornet's nest. Wonder what's in here. Go away, dude.
Well,
like
yeah.
it may not hit you now, but like in 30 years, when you're like, "Damn, this new toe
Well,
is weird."
Well, I
Yeah,
was
when you
going
have
to
a
say
third
that
arm out of
iodine-
nowhere.
I was going to say iodine is like the best thing that you can have afterwards because like that's what will protect your thyroid from developing cancer, and that's one of the more prominent causes of cancer whenever you're like in areas with high radiation.
Dude, that still would scare me so
like,
much.
Just like get a little,
Yeah,
take some
yeah.
iodine pills and just pop them in, and you're good.
Yeah.
And then, but all things considered, the homeless situation, like I was talking about, I would say, like you have to get places where energy is like readily available, and they have heating, they have they have lighting and all this and all that. I would say if you had a federally funded nuclear plant, that could provide energy to say over 150,000 homes, which for a decent sized nuclear reactor would be no problem. For like the ones that we have nowadays, the one that they just finished down in Georgia, one of the biggest ones ever, that's going to supply electricity to over 6 million homes. And that is
Wow.
exponential. And if you get one that can support that and support enough homeless shelters, and then not only that, but in terms of cutting down on like food costs and everything like that, there are prisoners that I think would be more than happy to do agricultural work than back-breaking like physical labor, like digging ditches and shit like that. Instead, give them hey, let them plant tomatoes, let them plant potatoes, let them do stuff like that,
and
thus
then give them
more
incentives
skills.
if they leave, if they're good and they're out in society, a budget to become a farmer after they learn how to do it.
Exactly. Give
Or
there's-
something,
Yeah, provide them with the ability to support themselves.
True reform.
Yes, truly helping reform people by teaching them skills that can benefit them in the long run. That's how it should be. And I think you have to have multiple benefits to the multiple benefits that's benefiting multiple areas in order for it to truly work and be prosperous.
Because felons become homeless a lot.
Yes, that's
You
the
know?
other thing too. And if they like
Veterans.
this community enough,
Yeah, veterans. They're doing a lot better job with that, though.
Yeah.
I will say that, I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran, and I have benefited from a few different programs that have given me opportunities I definitely wouldn't have otherwise. And when it comes to homelessness, they attack the shit out of that. That's one of the things they ask you. If you've got anything going on health-wise, if you need to see a counselor or something, they bring that up quickly. Because it used to be this huge thing, especially with the Vietnam era, where they just used you, abused you, and then you were fucking shit out of luck.
yeah, use you, abuse you, and then just cast you out. Be like,
It's
"Hey,
far
thanks
from
for everything."
perfect. It's far from perfect,
Oh,
but they're
yeah.
doing much better than they used to be about
Yeah,
that.
But like I was saying about those those places that you build, if felons go there and they find this place is a place that they like, then hey, this is a place that they can reintegrate into society and be a part of it there. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, there's ways that I would potentially go about it, and I would look at potential like social like how we would like in terms of the sociological aspect, how we could make it work and make people not feel like they're trapped. And because that's one thing that I will say about a lot of homeless shelters is that a lot of people when they go there they feel trapped.
I
They feel
mean, can you
trapped.
blame them?
They feel like they don't like they don't need to be here and they're just going to go somewhere else. So
Yep.
and when they go somewhere else, they don't know anybody there. They don't have a job. They're unable to get a job because of their mental health issues. And then boom, you're back at square one. And we need to, and that would be something that I would, in terms of long term planning, be like, how do we fix that to make it seem more homely, make it seem like, oh, this is a place where I can build part of my community, and I can be part of something.
Well, the country's huge.
It is.
There's no
It's
doubt about
massive.
that. The whole overpopulation thing in our country is a myth. There's a lot of land.
Yeah.
Now,
Shit ton.
how habitable it is, that's maybe another question. But
Well,
Yeah.
well, if you want like the proof of like habitability and everything, you just look at the amount of privately owned land and the amount of federal land. Now, federal land is about, I would say, 1/3 of the total land, or no, it was between 70 and 75%. I forget how much CGP Grey said it was, but he did a video on like what is federal land and what is it used for. And basically, he talked about like Bureau of Land Management, national parks, military, like postal service, stuff like that. And wildlife and conservation, which is basically like the resource tiles, logging and then replanting the trees and all that. And it's amazing how much land is out there that was literally given away to people when they moved west, wagons westward and everything. And there were people who got great plots of land, and there were people who got shit plots of land. And the shit plots of
Mm-hmm.
land that people literally gave back to the federal government, the government was just like, "All right, we'll keep it." And that's basically it. That's basically all it was for the longest time. And eventually, after they stopped giving away land, and I think it was like the early 1900s, they were just like, "All right, now the land that y'all didn't want, we're gonna keep, and it is ours forever now." And there are people who say, "Oh, I live in national park at like Fire Island National Park or anything like that." No, it turns out it's just the plots of land that people didn't want. That were too forested or too like just too rocky or anything like that. And honestly, it's hilarious looking at the maps of like Fire Island and just seeing like plot of land uninhabited, plot of land uninhabited, plot of land uninhabited, and it's just like federal land, like federal operators can operate in those little slivers of land between people's property, and there is not a damn thing the people can do about it. And
that's
then,
wild.
and then of course the coastal, like all of the coastlines of California from top to bottom, 100% federally owned. No matter what some rich ass hat out in California wants to say, it's like, this is my beach and I own. No, you don't. Federal
Mm-hmm.
government owns that land, and there are people. And if there are homeless people sleeping on that beach out there, there's literally nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
There's nothing you can do. It's impossible for you to buy beachfront property in California, like no matter how much money you have. And that to me is one part hilarious and also one part scary, because just like it's hilarious because you see the rich asshats complaining about it, just like, get those homeless people off of my beach. It's like, it's not your beach.
It's not.
And then on the other side, it's just like, but this is federal land, and literally what the federal government wants to do with it, they can. For instance, all of the federal land in Nevada for the longest time was used for nuclear testing. Yeah, that's the other thing too. When you look at the amount of holes that the U.S. government punched in the desert for nuclear testing, and also Nevada and Utah, there's only about 20% of like privately owned land in the entire states. Like in those states alone.
Wow.
Dude, just
Yeah.
imagine we could end up with Godzilla style fucking scorpions. No, dude. Godzilla style Mormons in Utah. No. I like caffeine too much.
Yeah,
I don't want to see a big soaking monster.
yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
King Kong Amish people.
Look at all these holes that from nuclear testing. Just look at all those. Look,
There's a lot of holes.
dude, it's insane. Looking at all the nuclear testing holes, like just look at that.
It's like a super X-ray of my nose when I was a teenager.
One of those ultra dermatologist macro lens things.
Yeah, just zooming in like all those blackheads had been squeezed.
Like, oh Lord, what happened here?
Puberty.
Puberty, beware. Oh, yeah. But when push comes to shove, America can shove, and they aren't afraid to swing their dick every now and again.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes it's in the faces of their own people.
Oh, a lot of the times, because well, when you look at history, I mean, the worst, offenders of their own people are often the people who are put in
their
charge.
own government. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what a lot of people are worried about here. And it's like it's a real thing that could potentially happen. But damn,
I mean, look what happened after the Boston bombing situation, dude.
Oh yeah,
there was military exercises going on in the city and everything, dude. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah,
who signed up for that?
Oh gosh, Boston Marathon bombing. I remember that movie that they came out with that had Mark Wahlberg in it. Patriots Day, I think is what it was called. Gosh,
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
It was really good. It's very like like America, like very like American.
America.
Yeah, sort of like that. It was released around the same time as Deepwater Horizon, which is weird because both films starred Mark Wahlberg, and both films were directed by Peter Berg. And it's just like, and that's the thing about it. Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg are like two very proud, like America, America, America. And
yep.
It's like
Mark Wahlberg also got arrested for something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, for beating the shit out of a certain.
Didn't he blind somebody?
He like beat the shit out of someone so bad I think they went partially blind. And that person just so happened to be of a certain
an Asian
persuasion.
person.
Yeah, the Asian persuasion.
Oh, there was another case too of a person that was color my shirt.
Really?
And it involved something that my people of Puerto Rico love to handle, which is a baseball bat, and those kind of coincided with each other through him.
Race attacks, not good.
No, if it was based on race, that's one thing. If it's based on him assaulting the dude because of like some bullshit, I mean, that's something else. But
yeah, Mark Wahlberg, he's a person that really hates he hates crime. So he hates crime. Just look up Mark Wahlberg hates crime. You'll get a lot of information because he hates crimes a lot.
God damn.
Feel it.
You heard it here first. Yep, he hates crime.
You see him out there
a lot.
In the street, just being like, it's like.
See a clip from American X, and then this is how we used to make the
vibration.
party start. Back when Mark, where was Marky Mark?
Oh gosh, he was gonna be in New Kids on the Block, and then like he backed out of it at the last minute. Because
he would have made a lot of money.
He would have, but his brother was already in it, and there was already just like he was like, this is more like this isn't my way of doing stuff, and Donnie's just like, all right, I'll go and make that money.
Watch me get breaded up.
Exactly. Anywho. Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about my topic then.
Sure.
Because we just rambled on there for a little bit. Jason Aldean.
Oh, my God.
I knew it. So here's what I'll say. Jason Aldean. Attempting to resurrect his country career. And before anyone gets on me about this, I am a country fan. I'm not a Jason Aldean fan.
He's pop country.
I've tried to listen to him. I have tried so hard to enjoy anything that he's put out. I haven't. And this new one that he came out with, try that in a small town. It's like, look, if he wants to get on the side of trying to be, it's like, oh, come to our town, beat the shit out you. It's like very true. That might very well happen, but at the same time, it's like,
And
shouldn't we be like just trying to come together and try and be a little
Nope.
more civil about? Oh
Nah,
wait,
there's
no,
America.
it's not what the U.S. government wants. So yeah, they want us to keep fighting each other and be divided and everything like that. But Jason Aldean, the thing with him is there are so many people who are taking what he is doing and what he is saying and just like it's already fairly ridiculous with him saying it, but then there's these idiots that ramp it up. Instead of going to 10, they go to 15, hell, sometimes 100. And I hate to say it, you're always going to get this with like extreme anthems like aimed at something, that's just like what's his name, damn, Sam Smith with that Unholy song, which I've heard, and it's
never heard it. Never heard of it.
it's mid. It's very mid.
Yeah.
It's like
It's very melodic.
It's just like, oh, we're trying to be scandalous. We're trying to be sexy, and this and that is like so every other pop song for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And it's like, no, we're doing something unholy. I'm like, so you're trying to do what? What's his name? Old Town Road.
Little Nas X.
Yeah, you're trying to do what Little Nas X has been doing for like the last 4 or 5 years.
It's not
Already
new.
not a tractor.
No, but Sam Smith's non-binary. I'm like,
What about Black
Good for them.
Sabbath?
Good for- yeah,
like,
exactly.
I mean,
It's
shit's
like-
been going on with the Sex Pistols.
and that's the thing. Like Sam Smith, like trying to be like, it's like trying to be non-binary. I'm like, okay, cool, you're non-binary.
You heard a tattoo?
What is this? What is this? What does this do for the music? It just still makes it
Nothing.
mid? Okay.
Elton John, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Freddie Mercury.
Exactly.
I mean,
Oh man.
what's that song by Queen? Don't try suicide. You won't like it at all. Like,
Yeah. It was like
Queen
"Don't
was
stop
way edgy.
me now.
It's been a thing. Willie Nelson's been controversial. I mean, there's been controversy around music forever.
But everyone's wanting to pretend like, but this is different. No, it's not.
Everything's brand new and everything's been done a million times.
Yes. And
Jason Aldean has been done a million times.
Yes. It's just like, remember Toby Keith? We'll put a boot in your ass.
Right.
It's the American way. It's like, it's literally the same shit
The same
over
shit.
and over
But
again.
No, that was better. That was. I mean, I don't
Courtesy
like
of the
either
red,
one
white,
of them.
blue.
I don't like either one of them, but
But
that
Toby's song was
Toby
better.
Keith was better. I mean, at least he sounds good. Like Jason Aldean is literally the most basic sounding pop country shit, and he looks like a thumb. Like he really just looks like a thumb or like a potato or something.
And here's the thing: we're not shitting on Jason Aldean. Like,
I am.
Well, yeah,
but
I know you
that's
are.
just me personally.
I'm
That'll
not
do
shitting
that
on
to
Jason
all
Aldean
pop country.
for trying to be like good on you, man. Way to try and be different. Oh wait, no, you're doing the exact same shit everyone else has done.
Pop country died in the 90s. Y'all just don't know it yet. Like,
Yeah.
Garth Brooks was Brooks and Dunn, Garth Brooks. Like, that shit was the best, and it will never be better than that.
No, I will say, I'd say George Strait.
George Strait was another one. I
Yeah.
mean, there was plenty back then. It was like bang, bang, bang.
But then everything got ruined when Kenny Chesney tried to make a reggae album. Yes, I'm not joking. Kenny Chesney, like the country artist, tried to become Jimmy Buffett and do like a reggae inspired out. I'm like, this is the same dude that's like, she thinks my
shit.
tractor's sexy.
We
Yeah.
forgot about Dwight Yoakam.
That man's a legend. I don't care what anyone says. Dwight Yoakam is a legend.
Who else? Who did the way down yonder on the Chattahoochee?
I can't
What was that
remember.
guy's name?
Hold on, let's look that up. Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
This is
And then
definitely
he
out of my
had,
element.
what was the other one? If everybody everywhere had long blonde hair and a little bigger piece
Oh,
of
that was
the pie.
Alan. That was
Alan Jackson. Yeah.
Oh,
So
Alan was great
there,
too.
that
Trace
shit,
Adkins.
they weren't trying to be fucked with, but they also weren't fucking with anybody.
No, they were having fun.
It was about like being chill and being a good dude
Yeah.
and helping out your people and loving your family and
then not
all
only that, but it was before like the formula for it was like Bo Burnham pointed it out, like dirt road, bonfire, cold beer, my girlfriend. It's like-
pandering.
exactly. It's all it is
Pandering.
nowadays. It's like you hear Florida Georgia Line. It's like it's like hopping my Ford and I'm riding down the back road. I'm like
The exact thing that the joke was talking about.
exactly like
Yeah.
these dudes are doing the exact.
When
same
you're
shit.
appealing to the lowest common denominator, though, it is what it is. And they figured out that the easiest emotion that we can access is anger.
Yes.
So here this
True.
guy, Jason Aldean, is on the steps of a courthouse where they've had lynchings. Okay, number one.
They have, yeah, but
Number two, he's using protest footage that's not only 3 years old, but a great deal of it was from Canada.
maybe there was a legal reason why he couldn't use American.
Also, he did not write the song.
No, I know
This
that.
was a corporate spun up song with a very calculated approach to, like you said, try and revise somebody's career about an issue that our entire country would like to fucking move on from, except for the fringe people who still want to argue and fight.
Well-
Most people don't give a shit about Donald Trump. Most people want to make a living wage and live in a country where they can go to work and raise their families and look their children in the eyes and tell them everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because that hasn't been the case for a long time.
Not
So
for the
when
last
it comes
10,
to
15
the
years.
when it comes to the drag shows, the bathrooms, the guns, the bullets, the riots, the protests, people don't want to deal with that shit anymore.
No,
People
I'm
want
sick of it.
to work, go home, and be okay.
People just want to live their lives. That's
I mean, the
all.
COVID
Yeah.
shit was horrible, and it was mixed with all this other shit. People just want to get on with their fucking lives at this point.
Well,
Yeah, that's why they're calling people, obviously back in the 40s, 50s, whatever. They call them boomers because they're baby boomers. The generation below me, basically also hitting millennials, we're becoming doomers. We're not having kids. We
Yeah.
can't afford kids.
Yeah.
It's like I'm 25. At my age, my great grandmother already had her 7th child.
yeah,
At my age, most of my aunts and uncles and grandmas, that's from my grandmother's generation, they're already on their 3rd, 4th kid.
well, you see,
In my generation, I have 0, and there's a lot of people who are my uncles are like in the 30s, and they also are at 0 because they can't
Same.
afford it.
well, there's actually a population guru. He's like a population and economics guru, Peter Zahorian. He talked about the population like column that a country needs to like be stable. You have to have like a generation ready to replace the generation that's going into into like the main part of the workforce, and then the main part of the workforce into retirement. Now, unfortunately, here's the thing: the baby boomers is the largest generation that this country has ever had, and a lot of them are going into mass retirement here within the next 10 years. And Gen X, their numbers are not there to support like the baby boomers, and same thing with like our generation, Gen Y and millennials. And now you have Zoomers, Gen Z. They're starting to enter the workforce after college, and they're just like, what's here? There's nothing here. And there's no jobs to support them because all the jobs are basically either automated or have left the country.
Yeah.
Yep.
And basically they're like, we don't have the numbers to go consumption driven, because that's how our economy stayed afloat for so long. Because,
and floated well,
yes,
motherfuckers.
because we were consumption driven and
Killing it.
Yeah, we did great, and our economy was booming for the better part of, I would say, 50 to 60 years.
Great.
And then eventually, whenever like I think it was when inflation got out of control in the late 80s and early 90s, these companies realized, wait, over there, we could pay pennies on the dollar versus paying a working wage for someone over here.
Profit, profit, profit.
That was my Walmart.
Yeah.
That was my Walmart. I was a customer service manager. I was in charge of the one side front end, the cashiers, customer service, site to store, which is where you pick up your online stuffs or whatever. Some people may want online items to go to their house, or for safety, security reasons, they'd rather have it at the store and then pick it up there. I was in charge of the cart pushers. I was in charge of all this, different type of stuff. And I remember we called it a team mat. I remember seeing my team mat that I had to print out in the morning when I get there, and it would be like maybe 15 pages. I'll be in charge of 200 employees. Then they added the cart machine, which yes, it made the cart push's life way easier, like a ton easier, because they could just link 20 to 30 carts into this one machine, and they just sit in the front of it to guide it, and they just hit a button and it just drives.
Yeah.
That helped them out tremendously. But because of that machine, we didn't need 15 cart pushers.
Yeah.
So we went from 15 to 6. And then we went from having, I think it was like 6 self-checkouts in total and 26 registers. So now the Walmart I worked at had only 16 registers and 32 self-checkout machines. And the cashier list I had were about 55 cashiers.
Damn.
Because of self-checkout and because we only have 16 registers, our cashiers went from 50 to about 28. Because we could place 2 cashiers, because the 32 self-checkouts we had one massive one towards the left side, and we had the one on the left had 22, and then the other side had 10. So we'll place 1 cashier on the one that on the side that has 10, and then we'll place 3 cashiers on the other side that has 22.
Yeah.
But that just got rid of over 10 cashiers.
Yes.
So I went from having a chart of 50 cashiers to only 28. And then same thing for the floor, for the stalkers. Now we have automatic machines that just drive around the store to clean up. So maintenance went from 10 to now 6, and then the stalkers had a machine in the back that automatically sorted out the pallets. So now all the stalkers had to do was just take the pallets pre-made by the machine, bring it to the floor, and just restock it. So my store went from 800 employees to about 550. 350 people lost their jobs in my store.
And it's because innovation, I hate to say it, sometimes innovation is too much for its own good. And it causes a massive exodus of workers at, now I'm not going to say low skill, but in an intermediate level of skill that machines can take over for the most part. It's just like all these baristas out here. They're actually coffee machines that are they're within 30 seconds. You press a few buttons, you pay $2, and you get a fresh cup of coffee right there. Instead of having to sit in a drive-thru, instead of having to do all this, instead there's a row of coffee machines. You get the coffee you want, then you're gone. And all these baristas out here will just be like, well, we're just gonna we're no one can make coffee like us though. And it's like most people don't give a shit. Most people just want a decent cup of coffee that they can just sip on while they're on their way to work, and that's the thing. Is
convenience.
It is. Convenience is great whenever it comes to simplifying and purifying how you go about commerce, but at the same time it can lead to a lot of people winding up with a pink slip, just winding up without a pay stub. And that sucks, because I want people to be able to work jobs and enjoy it, but that's once again why I think the generation that's coming after the Zoomers have to get back in touch with skill-based labor.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think it has anything to do with the generation coming up. The problem is the generation that's still in control, who did not face any of these issues. Not only that, you talk to them about these issues, and it goes, phew.
Boomers and Xers.
Pull up bootstraps. Bootstraps, what? Your jobs were there. You had the cheapest mortgage rates of all fucking time. some of
Yep.
the best job economies of all fucking time. Your
Yep.
grandparents and parents went through literal fucking hell on earth to give you the most utopian existence in society
Yep.
that has ever existed. And then they want to preach to us and the generations after us and
Yeah.
right before us about how good we have had it and how we don't want to work and we are not worth shit because we can't replicate what they did when they had the board set for them better than anybody in the history of fucking mankind.
I hate to say it, but standing
Ever.
on the shoulders of giants. We've
They
said
were
this before.
standing on the shoulders of literal Korean and World War II veterans.
Yes.
And acted like they
greatest
had it
generation,
hard.
silent
Give me
generation.
a fucking
and
break,
just, and
dude.
just like and they were given like a lot of the stuff,
Oh.
and then a lot of like this is the one thing that I find hilarious because a lot of the boomers were hippies. They became hippies, with that. From like 1940 something until about 1964, and then like from 1965 until 1970 something, like hippies and like the free free love and just like expressionism and all that. That was all well and good, but then a lot of them threw that shit aside and became these ultra like conservative like nail pounders who were just like nail drivers who were just like it's like, well, we expressed ourselves back in the day, but it actually meant something. It's like, and why is this that you're able to do that and you're celebrated for it with like people looking back on Woodstock and stuff like that? It's like it was all about peace and love, and it's just like people try and do that nowadays, and it's just like, oh, look at all these lazy fucks just like lazing about. It's like y'all did the same thing. How come y'all didn't get chastised? And well, they did get chastised at the time, but history has remembered them because hey, who wrote the history books that we read nowadays?
Right.
Boomers.
Well,
And
they're still in control.
They look at the idyllic nature of it.
And they're also out of touch.
They run
They're
everything.
extremely out of touch.
They're way out of touch.
They
and,
are. And
who caused the credit crisis? Who caused all the fucking debt? Who
caused
are
the housing
ones,
crisis?
And then we're left to clean up the shit. And
Oh,
while we're
yeah.
cleaning up the shit with insurmountable odds that they've never had to face, we're the ones who are the fuck ups.
With a dooming economy, because like I talked about earlier, we talked about that population column that's needed to like maintain a society and everything like that. Instead, what's happened is that it's actually turning into a funnel, and now it's basically turned into like a reverse pyramid. And anyone who's ever tried to build a reverse pyramid, what happens whenever it gets too thin at
it
the
collapsed.
bottom? Bang!
Yeah.
It collapses, and it's because we're part of this doomer generational thing where our generation isn't having kids because we financially can't. It's it's a financial impossibility for most people our
Back
age.
in the day, again, our grandparents, their parents,
Yes.
most of the time, if you had a kid, your family would help you.
Yes.
Yes.
Starting with like a generation before us and before that, practice safe sex. Don't have any kids. If you make that mistake, it'll ruin your life. I'm not supporting you. I'm not taking care of your kids. Here we
Yeah.
have the most entitled, the most wealthy generation that has ever existed on the planet, now destroying about the household, the atomic family not being a thing when they're the ones who fucking did it.
Yeah, they started
Yeah.
it. I mean, they're the ones that planted the seeds for like the sexual revolution and
And then
birth
told us
control
not
and-
to have sex.
Yeah.
Then told us to wear condoms. Then told us if we had kids, it would ruin our fucking lives. And now they
Yeah.
bitch about it.
Yeah.
They're the ones who
And
did
it's
it.
still taught. It's still taught that. That's why we have the Zoomers. The Zoomers, in terms of like empathy towards like children and kids, is almost at zero. Like
It's non-existent.
Exactly, and it's because instead of being taught to be a nurturing person, whether it be a man or a woman, whenever you have children, you're supposed to be there for your kid. And if you aren't there for your kid, you're a piece of shit and you deserve to have your fucking face stomped in. I agree with that. But at the same time, it's just like these kids nowadays, Zoomers, they want nothing to do with kids. Like you have like a lot of dudes like wanting like not hysterectomy, but like what's it called?
Vasectomies.
Vasectomies, yeah. And you have some women who are just like, I just go ahead and cut it out of me. I don't need it.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's because once again,
What are they supposed to
just
think?
it's a tumbling block.
What are they supposed to know?
It's a giant tumbling block that's just like out of control, and there's nothing that can be done about
I
it.
totally think that there is something that could happen and be done about it, but it would require, once again, the most entitled, most gifted generation of all fucking time to admit that they were wrong and try to help while they're still in charge. But they will never do that.
I could give you guys the most perfect example, and this is happening within my family. Like I told you guys before, I come from a huge, humongous family. But like I said, my great grandmother has 16 kids, and
11.
My great grandfather, he built a house in Puerto Rico by hand.
Mm-hmm.
He did everything. He got the plot of land, obviously before, basically worth of sugar canes. It was worth nothing. He got the big amount of land. He built a house, and the purpose of that house being built was for the 16 kids, when they grow up and they start to disperse, that if they stay in Puerto Rico, to stay in Puerto Rico. But once they moved out, depending on where they live, down the line, if they ever come back to the island of Puerto Rico, that house is there. It's 100% there for them to stay in, instead of paying for a hotel, or instead of getting an Airbnb or this. Obviously, at the time there was no Airbnb, but that house was there for any of the kids to come back, to stay there, to enjoy their time in Puerto Rico and all that kind of shit. And that also goes for their kids. So for his grandkids, if they decided, oh, you know what, I want to go to Puerto Rico, instead of staying in a hotel, that house is there because he built it for his lineage.
Yeah.
And it goes from that point on. Right now, I'm at the point where out of the 16 kids, I think only 6 remains. And same thing, the 6 that remains, they already have that mindset. Okay, when I go visit Puerto Rico, it's gonna be there. I could go chill there and stay there for a week or whatever. Now it's the kids, like you're just saying, they're so entitled. A lot of the kids, like my aunts and uncles, or even people who are like my age, they're thinking, oh, when they pass away, I could probably sell the house and take the money, and I could probably take my other cousins or other aunts and uncles to court and win over the house, and they're just thinking about me.
Yeah.
And all of us are seeing, we're seeing the sidelines. We're like, hey, we also have a word in this, in this house, because hey, this is part of our lineage. We're all welcome to the house. Our grandfather, my great grandfather, their grandfather, their dad, whatever, they built that for all of us. So whenever we stay there, we have a free place to stay, and the family is supposed to come together, and if there's anybody staying in that house, all right, let me just go buy cases of water, keep stuff in that refrigerator. So when I leave, the next family member that comes in, they don't have to worry about buying this, buying that. It's already stocked.
Yeah.
That's been taught for generations, for the Gen X and and the boomers. But now in our entitled generation, it's like about me. But at the same time, to go back to the point where you said family's supposed to be there for family, it's also a disconnect too, because I remember seeing a TikTok that went viral. It was a woman that just turned 18, and she was speaking with her grandmother. And her grandmother's like, oh, when you turn 18, I'm gonna give you life-changing money so you could buy a house, start a business. You could just do everything you ever want to do. Anything your dreams of, you could pursue it. She turned 18. Her grandmother only gave her $10,000. And the granddaughter's like, what do you want me to do with this? I completely thank you for it, and I'm 100% generous, and I appreciate it. But you said life-changing money that I could buy houses and start a business. She's like, yeah, $10,000. That's what I did to start everything I needed to do. And the granddaughter's like, Grandma, rent itself for a standard 2 bedrooms like $1,800. This could give me rent for maybe 7 months, give or take, and that's not even including the bills and groceries. So maybe if I get an apartment, this could last me into 4 or 5 months, but I can't start a business. I can't put a down payment with $10,000 for a house.
Once again,
so it's like a disconnect, but it's
once again, just not being aware of like how bad inflation has made it for the generations that have come after them. And and this is something that can be dealt with. It can be handled. It just they refuse to do it because once again, the federal government just wants to keep spending money and keep just like increasing the prices of everything because the dollar. When they say the dollar ain't what it used to be, they're right. The dollar is not what it used to be, and now you have all this burgeoning stuff that's just like laying on top of like the financial burden of like the people that are coming up in these new generations. It's just like, what am I supposed to do?
Be sidetracked by social issues.
Yeah, and complain about it on every on Instagram, on Twitter.
Dude, I am arguing with people so much over the past couple of days about Jason Aldean. And it's not even me like doing anything but making fun of him. I just thought that the song and him in general were funny, and he looked like an idiot for drumming up old shit. He needed the Golden Plunger Award. But they bring it to like racism and homophobia and all this shit. I'm like, I didn't even nobody's saying anything about that.
Yep.
Why are you talking about this?
Well, there are people who do think it is, and then it's just like
the song sucks. The guy's an asshole. Like, who cares? That's like most of the people out there that are entertainers anyway.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like for me, I can't touch on anything with country, and like obviously you talked about Unholy from Sam Smith, and the only person I could think of that I think is like the perfect example of doing things right, like yes, the person's gay, is Ricky Martin, but he doesn't make it his identity with music. He doesn't make controversial stuff. He doesn't make it zoomed in, or he doesn't talk about shit that he makes his music for everybody. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I remember in the mid 2010s, he dropped a song with Jennifer Lopez. This is like years after he openly stated, I'm no longer with my wife. We're divorced. I'm still I'm still an amazing father to my kids, but I have no interest in women anymore. I'm gay. In the music video, he's literally grinding and dancing on top of J-Lo the whole entire time, just being like he's just going with the flow.
Yeah.
He's not wearing a pink dress, and he's like not. Basically, we're seeing today's music with Sam Smith, which is like very not appropriate for yes, grinding on J-Lo is not appropriate for kids to see, but he's not making the identity where it's like sparking controversy with all everybody.
Yeah.
He's making music. Some of them are hits, some of them are misses. All artists have hit or misses.
Yeah.
But his music is not trying to make one side of the aisle pissed off and making the other side happy. He's just making music that everybody in the world could enjoy. If you don't like him because now he's gay,
that's
okay, that's on you. But at least he's not putting music out there that might disgust you with however he portrays himself. On his personal life, he does what he does. On his profession, he just makes music, and he doesn't talk about politics. He doesn't talk about anything. Not that I've seen. Right now, I think he does producing now, but
and
it's just that's the only way I can connect because I don't know anything about country.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what Jason Aldean did. He has every right to put that song out there. I have every right to tell him that it's shit and that I think that it's a really dumb message to send. Just like I think WAP is a piece of shit. It's a really dumb message to be put.
Song.
Is it funny? It's at least funny.
Yeah.
Jason Aldean just looks like a fucking idiot. Like, there are plenty of things that I don't like, that I don't think, nobody should ever be able to do this. I just think that you're going to get opinions when you put out art.
Yeah.
And
you should expect that.
Art, there's plenty of badass shit that should never have been in front of children.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's plenty of stuff that I listened to and entertainment that I liked when I was a kid that I should not have liked and should not have been exposed to.
Same.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like, that's the way it's going to be. I don't think there's anything wrong with being the gayest motherfucker on planet Earth, making music about sucking every dick in the world. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're going to have me call you a
in the
hoe
butt.
because,
Yeah, you're going to be a hoe for that.
It's very hoish
Let's do it in the
behavior.
butt. doing in the butt,
Speaking of
in the
country,
butt.
I need to send you some Wheeler Walker Jr.
I figured you were gonna mention that.
Yeah, that's real country music. But he is very explicit, and it's everything with him. He's a comedy act. It's funny, But like,
Oh god.
I don't think there's a problem with people doing shit like that. Like some of the most problematic music ever in the history of music, I'm a fan of, like NWA. They were talking about gunning down the police and shit, which is super problematic to do that to anybody. But it's good
especially
music.
back then.
Good music,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big pun.
Big pun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just
Put you by a hair, slit your throat, and I'll leave you right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
All the kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Contest
dude.
for
Eminem-
fate. I guarantee
Eminem.
it'll be under
yeah.
investigation.
Eminem's like first album. It's just like my brain's dead weight. I'm trying to figure out which Spice Girl I want to impregnate. It's like Jesus, Marshall.
Yes. He has a lot of problematic shit going on, but I'm a huge fan.
I am as well.
Music and art
Same.
is its own thing. I just think that it's a really shitty thing to go out there and take like as big. We have not had social issues as bad as they are now, or at least as bad as they were 3 years ago in generations. And to be like, I am a hack pop country artist, and I'm going to ride the back of some of the most fucked up shit to happen in our country for the sake of just to be popular again, maybe. I mean, that's the biggest form of selling out you can possibly do. To not try to fix anything, but to make it worse. He had no answers in that song. He was just pissing on the ground to stir up controversy.
Yeah, and it's just like anytime I know that. I know that it's the same thing I see whenever I see like a Instagram model or an influencer on social media. Whenever the whole the whole BLM thing was like at its peak, and they changed their profile picture to a black square, I'm like, way to grift, guys.
Never went to
Way
any
grift.
marches. Never donated to any
cause.
anybody that got shot or killed.
Nope.
Never did anything other than be like, I'm standing on this side doing
I stand
nothing.
in solidarity with.
What the fuck does that mean? Nobody wants you to stand in solidarity with them. Do something.
Yeah,
Just like these fucking Pizzagate people and stuff like we were talking about last time we talked. If they really believe in this shit that they're saying, fucking do something then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, someone actually tried to do something, or did do something about it, and did like shoot up a pizzeria.
Yeah,
but
well, that's not helping anything.
no, it's not. And-
That's stupid.
and what I would say is be like, okay, how about you hire a private investigator? All of y'all come together, get the money for a private investigator, and you make that private investigator do their job and figure out if something actually is going on at some of these pizzerias.
Or join up with Ashton Kutcher's shit.
Yes.
He has an organization that has saved thousands and thousands of kids from the child sex trade.
Trafficking, yeah.
Yeah, the sex trafficking thing, like thousands. He's actually doing something. He's not, well, Q Drop just came in and said this. Like, what fucking difference does that make?
Yeah, nothing. But you see, him, I don't see his face anywhere whenever it comes to people like talking about social issues and social change and all that. But yet, I see Billie Eilish's dumbass just posting a picture of George Floyd and just be like, "We must be better." It's like,
You're from England. What the fuck are you talking about?
well, she's American. No, Billie Eilish is American.
Oh, I thought she was British. That shows you how much I know about that shit. Because
I only know about it because my nephew Case has a huge crush on her, and I'm just like, all right, good on you.
she looks British as fuck, in my opinion. Anyway,
I guarantee you, her mom, given how her mom is, be like, my daughter is not an American. She's a citizen of the world.
citizen of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that, and I'm like, all right, yeah, exactly, Rick. Like, all right, how many other languages do you speak? That's what I thought. Okay, moving on. So, everyone, I think, we've been going for almost an hour and a half. I guess
Damn.
that makes up for when we missed out on.
Did you even
last
get to
week.
go on a topic?
Nope.
Rick?
Oh God!
I could say it for next week.
No, go. I was gonna say.
I feel bad,
If you want to
dude.
go ahead on, we'll make it a quick one.
It kind of circles back what we talked about in the beginning that we had like a little talk about, which was the UFO stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to actually
UFO.
get into do you actually believe in aliens?
To a certain extent, I can see that the logical side of my brain says, yes, there is something out there, but do we have the capacity to fully understand what we're looking at? Probably not. But I would say, more than likely, given how big this universe, like the entire fucking universe is, yes. I mean, there is not, in my mind, there's not a cosmic chance in like the entire universe that we are alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least a fucking like single-celled slug on a planet somewhere that we will never know about and will probably go extinct within the lifespan of the human species. But yet we will never know about it because it's always the question: is there intelligent life
Yeah.
out there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether there's life, I think there is life on other planets. There has to be, given the situation we find ourselves in. But intelligent life, I don't like. I really think there is, given everything that we've seen in terms of like the stuff that's been released to the public. There has to be something out there. Either that, or it is it's like advanced military technology that we don't know about or probably never will know about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, but yes, I do believe there is life on it, like life out there in the universe outside of our planet, and yeah, that's really all I can say, like confidently. Now, whether or not it's intelligent life, we'll see.
I want to go last, Rig.
Rick, okay,
Okay. So I truly believe that there is billions upon trillions of lives out there. Many of them may not be intelligent. Some could be intelligent because how I see it is that with our universe, we're less than a speck of dust.
oh,
We're like,
our
it's like
planet is
I said this in the video. Like for example, like I have obviously I'm been smoking, but you have all this ashes, right?
yeah,
And this ash pile, our our planet is within this ash pile.
yes,
And some of them you can see it chunks. Those are obviously those are galaxies or whatever.
Andromeda, Milky Way, all that, yeah,
And you're telling me within this ash pile right here that only one tiny speck has what we are, just humans. It may not be humans, but I truly believe that there are planets that support life because
oh,
there's
there
I
are,
had to look it up. I remember the name of it, but not how to properly like spell it. But now I looked it up. It's called Kepler 22b. It's
that's
a
the
planet
closest
that they
lifelike
discovered.
planet, yet life
It is
supporting planet like ours.
it is yep. It is 2.5%. I don't 2.5 times bigger than this planet itself.
Mm-hmm.
It has the same type of environment, same distance from their sun, everything, and from their distance they see land. They have it's mostly water, but there's land on that planet
Mm-hmm.
that they can see with their telescope that has like forestation, it has air, it has all this stuff that we have.
Well, that's aliens. Is if there's anything alive on it, then that's an alien.
Yeah, that
So that would
that
prove
tree's
that
alien.
life exists outside of the planet Earth,
Exactly.
which was the
fact
biggest
that it has
question
forestation
forever.
means it has life.
Yes, and it is, and if it's life supporting, like you're saying, because I've seen that planet too. It is within the habitation zone of like distance from the sun, and now the only problem would be the gravity because on that planet. 2.5 like because of mass, because
where
of
it's
like
bigger.
where it's 2.5 times the size of Earth, I would weigh over 800 pounds on that planet. I could not imagine walking around on that planet weighing
Unless you were
800 pounds.
Goku training on your way there, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
you're
was on the
Vegeta,
way
like,
to Namek.
like the machine that Bulma made for Vegeta.
Yeah.
And you see, that would be like the thing. Would be like there would have to be a limit on like how big you could be going to that planet, or they may do something like exosuits. Like if they do
Yeah.
exosuits,
I mean, 600-pound sisters. I'm sorry, you're stuck on Earth.
oh, and it's just like all of a sudden I could just hear all these people just like that planet's fat phobic.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Oh god.
Canceled by Twitter X.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh god. But all right. What about you, Chad?
I do believe that aliens exist somewhere. Somewhere.
Yeah.
The likelihood is there. I would be surprised if there's not. I'm not convinced that UFOs are alien species. I would not be surprised if, as big of a plot twist as it is and as crazy as it is, that our governments, the world governments, have ungodly technology that's blacklisted that we don't know about for many reasons. One including if they have the ability to fuel these machines, it's a fuel source that the public does not know about.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they could have changed everyone's entire life. But introducing technology like that could destroy our economy in ways that we're not ready for. So it would be a huge, huge shock to the world to know that instead of having to put gasoline in their car, there was a fuel source that was infinite and they could use for anything, and that they have known about it and have had it and withheld that from everyone, would start fucking World War III.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the person who did the water car.
But I'm talking about beyond that. These things have no propulsion. They have no... So you would literally have to break the law of physics to do what these things are doing.
But you see, the laws of physics as we understand it, like
as the general public understands it.
Well, no, even like the highest minds out there,
don't completely understand physics.
No, but the truth is, like, we have a grasp on physics. We have a grasp on like how physics on this planet affects us. Now, this is to say, like, in another galaxy, eons and eons away, all of a sudden, like, all the physics that we have here, if we were to go there, everything would be reversed. And there's no telling as to like why, because our understanding of the galaxy as a whole is so limited. And there's so many people on this planet who are just like, well, we already know enough to know that you know, what's out there. We already know like enough to like where we would be okay if we went. No, space does not play by the rules. Space literally is a vacuum. It is an endless void vacuum that will destroy you in a heartbeat if you aren't fully prepared for what's out there.
Then you can't be.
No, it's
as
impossible.
Far as we know.
It's impossible.
As far as we know. But I am not convinced that the world governments, who are the superpowers, who have the most influence, the most money, and especially the United States government, who's put more into the black budget than we'll ever know, doesn't have knowledge that the general public doesn't know. And I'm including educated physicists and all these people who think that they know everything. I guarantee you the government has people who are under the threat of death to not talk about it, that know shit that we do not know.
Guarantee it's like a bomb implanted in their neck.
I'm telling you.
Or a cyanide release
thing. Those UAPs are most likely secret technology that if the public knew about the government having these answers, it would destroy the fabric of our society. And that's why they have been entertaining this alien shit so much, because it gets heat off of them. The likelihood of that being an extraterrestrial, like, space creature doing that shit is way lower in my mind than the government just having incredibly life-changing technology that they don't want people to know about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I love Metal Gear, and Metal Gear goes through a lot of that kind of stuff. And for me to go back to, obviously, my love for that game, but ever since the whole Metal Gear Solid 1, a game that came on 91, they developed a virus that the host is immune to it. But this virus had like DNA specific targets. If they're within the vicinity of that person, these people have like top secret knowledge of how to create certain things, how to make a mobile tank that could fire nuclear a blast that could basically eradicate a whole society. When the agent, which is Snake, when he's in the vicinity of the weapons manufacturer, I don't know where, he had a heart attack, instantly died. Then he gets in contact with the president of the weapons company, and he told the terrorist group the secret. But when Snake gets in the vicinity, boom, another heart attack. and then every single person he
Another
gets in
heart
contact
attack.
with,
What the hell's
heart attack,
going on?
heart attack. Yeah, basically. So it's like he gets in contact with these people, but the government of that country, which is the fictional America, planted a virus within him because they gave him nano machines, which is supposed to regulate his body temperature because he's in Alaska.
Yeah.
Obviously, Alaska, cold climate, you could get pneumonia. But with this nano machine technology, we're gonna import inside of you. It's gonna regulate your heat. It's gonna regulate your body functions, your organs to give you maximum, stability of performance. But in reality, inside those machines had a virus called Foxdie, which would target these high-profile, people, and make sure those information. Now that even when they escape, if they were to escape, they might tell the world, "Oh, this is the reason why we're in Alaska on that base." But instead of having that happen, they eradicated it.
Yeah.
So it's like that's from a game coming out in '91. And then we hear cases now of whistleblowers mysteriously disappearing and this and that. And I've seen it through this game and playing Metal Gear Solid 2 about the presidents not being the actual head of the country. There's people in the background puppeteering everything that we see, and things in the news media is controlled by people behind the screens, behind the scenes, feeding information that they want to tell the public.
Yeah.
But in reality, ABC and XYZ is happening. And
It's always been
yes,
the
this
case.
is
Always.
this
dude.
is
It's
yes,
never
it's a
ending.
fictional game, but this is something that could be legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe.
And maybe it is, but at the same time, it's just, well, there's always going to be that little realm of doubt in your mind. It's just like, maybe I'm crazy.
Hey, nothing's for sure.
Mhm.
I
I'm
know,
not
and
convinced of anything.
I'm
so.
not either. And until like the truth is out there in front of me, and I can plainly see it with my own two eyes, and I can maybe even go over and touch it, I'm not gonna 100% believe it.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
it's just the skeptic in me, the skeptic
Yep.
in me that
Yeah, I'm
has
pretty
just
skeptical too.
yeah, that I would love to believe. I would love to believe that it is 100% real. The alien, the like spacecraft and all that. But like Chad said, there's potential for it to be that, or it's potential for it to be a government entity or something else.
Yep.
I
don't
would
know.
even believe something from another dimension would be more plausible than something from another planet.
Well,
Just given what space is
And
and, how
also-
little we understand about dimensions of reality
well,
and,
and
shit.
also not only that, let's not forget that Large Hadron Collider basically was able to punch holes in our universe in black holes. And according to the best minds out there on what's on the other side of black holes in terms of the equations and everything, they say that once you go through the black hole and you clear the horizon and everything, if you survive, you'll be in another dimension. You'll be in another potential universe. And that's terrifying, because it's just what if that's the thing? The Large Hadron Collider, whenever it made that initial black hole that existed for a millisecond, what if something snuck through and
Donald Trump. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
Trump Donald
Nelson
came through.
Mandela. That's what started the Mandela effect. I've
God
heard
damn, that's
people
how
say
Lil Nas
that.
X came here.
I've heard people say that the Mandela effect was caused by the Hadron Collider.
well,
Nah, no, Lil Nas X came through that.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was them
gosh.
blood-soaked
But-
Nikes.
But the whole thing with the Large Hadron Collider. There's actually a great anime series called Steins Gate.
I've
Deals
heard
with-
of that.
It deals with time travel and all that. There's Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero, and oh my lord, what a fucking brain case of a show,
All right, I'll watch it next.
huh?
I'll watch that next. Right now, I'm watching Reincarnation of a Slime.
Ha! So are we. We're doing that as a reaction series. People really like it. Oh, gosh. But anyway, I think that's going to do it, everyone. So until next time, y'all keep it real. We'll keep it beardy. Until then, I'm Nate.
I'm Chad.
I'm Rick.
And y'all be good people. We'll see you then. Peace.